Hey, what is up? Welcome back, Design Squad. Welcome to another episode of UX Portfolio Reviews. One of our community members at Design Squad community on Discord just submitted a case study, which is very first UX case study. And I kind of just had a glance over it, putting my hiring manager hat on and trying to see exactly, could I actually interview this person? What's missing? Like what the improvement areas are. And I'm going to give some constructive bits which Alan can benefit from, but also everyone else out there, especially juniors or entry level, because this is it. And so right off the bat, you can see Alan created this case study in Behance, and he basically made, I guess, a solution for a balanced jiu-jitsu, for a jiu-jitsu business in Winnipeg, committed to promoting hard work, physical fitness, health, and discipline through our art of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So he's introducing the actual, I guess, business itself. An actual user benefit could be extracted and made into a story or into introduction of what the solution is about instead of the actual business, because I guess talk to me about the benefits so I know exactly what I'm here for. I can just tell that it's a website or an app, something like an effortless way for, let's say, trainees to match with an appropriate coach or something, like something along those lines, but kind of making it a bit more zingy, so to speak, and kind of use a bit of a marketing lingo so you can take me on a journey and actually captivate me to read more. Then you go to project overview, so you're describing roles, duration, tools. Again, tools are quite redundant. Google Analytics stands out. Everything else is like, I would be like, fine. I mean, yeah, that's just a tool. As a hiring manager, I don't really care what tools you used. It's really how do you arrive at the conclusions and what are the conclusions. And duration, it's still ongoing. Business strategy, UX research, UX UI design, interaction design. So this is where I would make a bit more clear. Business strategy, you could be a bit more specific exactly what it is. Is it actual UX strategy of the actual product, business strategy in terms of the model, UX research, UX UI design? So all of those are quite interchangeable, or they bleed into each other. So you could be specific with UX research, maybe product design, and call it a day, because everything else is kind of like under it, right? And one of the first things what caught my eye was this benefit, this business part of it, because you're basically saying that because of a pandemic, the strategy had to shift within the business itself, and you had to kind of rebalance it and create and update their business model and create an action plan to move classes online. Here represents the old website, so I guess it's a website redesign, adding new features to achieve that. And you try to kind of frame the problem itself that, we need to be open in pandemic. How might we do that for online means? It's simple, understandable, you have some sort of goals. And this is where I would question, how did you arrive at those goals? Because you're being quite specific here, you frame the problem, but when you jump immediately, allow students to sign up for physically. Did you run workshops with stakeholders? And if so, might be worth mentioning it that, let's say here you ran, 5 sessions with actual owners, and you decided that the presumed business benefit is going to be like, and that's what you expect your users to do. And then you do the research and actually see if that sticks. That's the whole point of it. And that would be like a proper UX process. So you might want to synergize those things together and bring it together somehow. And when you describe human-centered design process, so you research, define, ideate the prototype, implement it, that's totally fine. Now what would matter more in UX is actually what did you do inside those different bits. And so you went into the research itself, you did some sort of competitive analysis. Figma used, irrelevant, really doesn't really matter where you did it. I would really care more how you did it instead of what tool did you use to do it. So how you did it, it could be, let's say, secondary research. So you talked with the business owners and they said, this is what we want to compete with because they are taking our users and customers away. Maybe you did some sort of other interviews, you found that out. That would be much more relevant to me than just a tool. So you have your strengths, weaknesses. I like that you used this radar, quote unquote, spider diagram, which actually immediately tells me exactly what's the state so I can compare the three. Maybe adding them all on one plot and just having like a legend saying this is 1, 2, 3, and they overlap and you clearly state exactly how you compare would even be easier. So maybe just an add-on. Then you did some user research. So you did 9 total participants, observed 5 classes, 85 classes analyzed. So you ran some sort of discovery basically, because all those classes observed, classes analyzed, I would even question, do you really need to do that? or do you need to observe how the people interact with the club? Like, where are those touch points? Where are the decision making up until they arrive at the class? Because I guess if they already arrived at the class, that's a success, unless you're trying to discover to replace it altogether, but it's not really clear. So you might want to be very specific which of those hypotheses you're answering. You had your goals, right? So these are your hypotheses, I would say. Why not just split it in that way and kind of say, this is the hypothesis, this is what I found out because I actually went and did it. All the insights on a high level, that's great. And then you did some sort of as-is journey map or experience map. So you captured some of the goods, some of the negatives. Consider, explore, compare, try out, commit. I wonder if these steps are enough. After the commitment, it's also if you're actually trying to replace the physical classes and do them online, it could continue up until they exit or like they loop back into the cycle. This is kind of like almost like a commitment journey, right? But once they're onboarded and they committed, what does that look like? That would be really important to capture. And then you try to ideate, but you jumped into a website immediately. So you try to evaluate that your website would be that replacement. And I wonder, why didn't you start ideating a bit broader? Like, what could it be like in the future? What could be the ideal state? What could be the MVP, which could be that website? But in the future, perhaps it's, you could go a bit more crazy and try to challenge your business to think out of the box. Could be even not a digital mean. Maybe it's classes which are outdoors, let's say. A service like that. It could be an app. It could be a VR based, like something crazy, which is not realistic perhaps or viable for a business, but start big and then work backwards and see what's that first step you need to take, which could be a website right now. So always ideate. Ideation is about crazy big ideas, challenge your business, and then work backwards of what you can action immediately. So you try to look at information architecture of the existing site, dendrograms of taxonomy. That's also good and clear to me exactly what you did. Site maps. I'm not gonna go deep into it, with one caveat that the tools you use don't really matter. Again, it's the outcome I'm looking for, and it looks good enough, so don't overdo it. Instead of adding a tool, add a tag or something of how you did it. That's more important. Low fidelity, high fidelity, mobile wireframes as well, all the different features you think they would have to have. It would be good to tie it in back into the research and why you think this is the case and which needed answers, which hypothesis you think it would answer. Testing, so you did some analytics, I guess, which I guess you did over time, 8 months, 15 people, that's good. Who are the people? One thing what I miss is actually like the segmentation of it. So you had a few notes of actually who you interviewed. So kids, males, females, I guess. There probably are going to be behavioral aspects, the seniority, how many belts we have, the level of it, are there any stripes? Those things could be different. And then you need to tell me as well as a hiring manager, who did you decide to target? Because some people wouldn't prefer the online classes and might face resistance and say, no, I'm just going to wait for a year or practice on their own, right? So you need to tell me exactly who do you think you're targeting and how you're going to target. Personas and segmentation efforts and so forth could actually enhance the story even more, because I could see clearly that you want to target females, males in that age group, that seniority, that expertise, that skill set, that attitude and behaviors towards online classes and digital means and things of that nature. Tick in a box immediately tells me much more. I would question if you even did segmentation, or is this tool for all the members in the club, let's say. Then I would say it's too general, because you might have features which benefit just some people but not the others. The traffic data, things of that nature. But I would question how much of it is relevant, because this is kind of like, for a big, large customer website, e-commerce, it could matter. But to me, if it's a club, you might have 10, 20, 50, 100 members, something like that. It more care about attitudes and behaviors, their desirability. Is it usable for them? Did they want to opt in for online classes? Things of that nature. So interviewing them is much more important than the actual data, because you don't have that many people anyways. It's not like you're gonna roll it out to every single club. And even if you did some of it here, it's so specific to the patterns itself. I would question if the strategy of the actual product makes sense. And you kind of need to gauge all those different things, because it's not just the interface you're giving them. It's also a new way to train, to opt in for classes, to do all the different things. And I would even question if like the videos is right. What's their attitude towards it? Again, links back to the research. But you could deep dive even further and reflect on this and also tie in, because overall this is pretty good, solid case study. I like that you started telling a story pretty damn well, focusing on the actual business and then diving about the users, which is actually would be the origin of your work anyways in the UX, right? So this is good, but then it's kind of became fragmented where you just started dropping activities you did without considering if the story ties in together. So I would think about that as well. It's not just about deliverables. Deliverables are great, but they should supplement your story instead of tell the story or force me to piece the things together. But as a first case study, this is damn impressive because I can tell that you are thinking the right way. You're already leaning towards a proper UX approach. This is just, I think, a testament of the things to come. So keep at it and just make a few tweaks here and there, and you're gonna have a solid case study. For everyone else, I hope this is useful. As per usual, if you like this video, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you want me to review your portfolio, just send me a link, be explicit that you want me to review it, and I'll do that. As simple as that. And on that note, I'll see you next time.